and have you used it? Any feedback on it? So just type in your chat and let me know. That'll be good. Okay, can you please remove the old one then to avoid confusion? Yes, it will be removed. The old financial feasibility will be gone. So don't, if you ever want financial feasibility, come under financial feasibility and get number 2. So don't bother about this, as this will be removed by the time you guys come back. So Ruth hasn't installed yet. Okay. Okay, somebody has, and they say that it works great. Fantastic. So I'm glad that it works great. Guys, when you are going through the course, I would suggest that you have a notebook with you and make sure that you write down notes with you. And if there is anything that you say, okay, I want to ask Amber some questions about this portion, or if you're going through something and suddenly you think, what happens in that scenario, or what if I was to do this, and what would happen then, and how can I go about it? So make sure that you take these notes and write them down, and that way it's easier for you to send me queries for what you want me to cover. So everyone's fine with the financial feasibility application that they've got. Okay, so let's go here. Now, this is a joint venture agreement. This could happen between you, between a builder, between a money partner, between students, between you and family members, you and friends, or whatever. But before you actually, it's like getting married to somebody for the course of the project, and it's like a prenuptial agreement that you want to make sure that when you are getting into a deal with somebody, it's they have and you have 100% crystal clarity that what is expected of them and what is expected of you. I've already done 3 of these agreements, and I learned from the first one, so I made sure that the second one was good, and so on. So these are the things that what I've got here is basically part of a joint venture agreement, an actual joint venture agreement that I had. I've actually extracted stuff from it, so that I can share with you. So let's look at it. The first thing that we've got to look at is who is going to do what, and this will always form part of a joint venture agreement. So things like who's going to attend all the meetings. So if there are meetings with consultants or counsel or lawyer or marketing agents, who's going to attend all these meetings, will both attend or one will attend. And if both say yes, we both want to learn, we both want to attend, just make sure that consultants will give you one time, and then you guys are trying to figure out whether or not the other one can make it, and you're wasting time on that. So make sure these things creep up, and they will start bothering you later on, especially if you are interested and you really want to go ahead and do this thing, and you want to finish it off and go ahead and do all these things, but your other partner is a little bit lazy or hasn't been able to devote time. So make sure that you lay down certain rules about it. Second, liaise with consultant, QS, solicitor is the same thing. Who will prepare the budget, track the budget, or prepare feasibility? Now, I would assume in this scenario, 100% of the time it'll be you guys, because you guys know how to do this stuff. But when you prepare the budget, preparing the budget is different than tracking the budget. I don't discuss tracking the budget in this because it's more part of the mentoring program, where I've got an online system and I show you how to track the budget as well. But you will know, you've got a feasibility, you allowed X amount of money for it, and as the invoices come in, suddenly you get an invoice from the town planner, the architect for stage 1, stage 2, then you've got all the other consultants sending you invoices. Someone has to make sure that they are they are saved in folders chronologically. They are shared with the other party, and it's documentation is a major, massive part of property development. So make sure that you've got a system for it in front of you, and you can go and do that. Preparing marketing material, you will not have to make websites, or you can hire other people to do it. But when I say prepare marketing material, is like who's in charge of getting the renders done, who is going to make sure that when you get the renders back, they reflect the plans properly, the color scheme properly. They reflect they basically reflect all these details that are shown in the renders to be exact to what you are saying that you will sell, because the sale might fall over if you got the wrong renders done and you showed somebody some other things in the render, and when you delivered the project it wasn't the same. So be careful when you do that. Usually take help of your architect if you are not confident in doing so. They will charge you a little bit more, but it'll be like an insurance money to make sure that the pre-sales that you get are all rigid-dig. They won't fall over because of misrepresentation later on. So documentation, bookkeeping. I have a bookkeeper, but I do two sorts of bookkeepings. And my bookkeeper does everything in MyOb. We've got extensive cost codes for everything. So everything for development gets goes under different cost code headings, and everything for construction for us goes into different cost code headings. And we have two different companies. One becomes a developer, the other one becomes a builder, and we do a contract between the two, and we manage the bookkeeping for both of them. So one's giving me what it looks like for the developer, the other one's telling me what it looks like for the builder, so I can see both and I know where the margin is and where we slacken or where we need to pull some stuff together so that we can make the ends meet, so to speak. So actually, if you give me a second, I didn't plan on doing this, but I can show you a budget for a project that we're doing, that I'm just about to start construction. Actually, it's going to get demolished next week, and we start construction in January. And I'm just looking at, just give me 1 second. I can't. Sorry, I should have taken it out, but I didn't actually think of sharing it with you. So I'm just looking for where did I put it. Okay, this is my template that I just wanted to show you for a project that we are doing, just about to demolish on 17 Newington Parade in Chelsea. And what we do is we've got, this is a template that I've designed, and this is a template that actually runs alongside the bookkeeper. So I mean, there are different costs for all these things. These are all different cost codes that we use, and there's a total for subcontractor preliminaries, there are development costs, and all these things. So, and in here I track it with actual. So as my invoices come in, I keep adding them to make sure that I've got these invoices under them. And what it does, it get on another tab, it compares the budget versus actual. It's not complete yet, so there are some miscellaneous stuff on it. All the trades that we've hired, what are we giving them? There's a budget cash flow that we say, okay, in our first progress claim, we're going to claim X amount of money, and in the next one, so that by the time we have our sixth and final claim, we've claimed all of the progress claim. So that's the template that I use, that I've created after 3 projects in construction, to be able to track everything, and also at the same time be able to constantly compare them with the actual spend that we are doing as we are going along. Ruth mentioned render. When I say render, it means a 3D artist impression. They're called renders. If you talk to architects and everything and you say renders, they're basically called renders. So if you look at our website, I'll show you. If you go into our project section, those are all our projects. So this is a render. This is not a real image. It's a render at the moment, but good quality renders cost a lot of money, and you won't believe that each one of these renders costs us about $3,000. No kidding, $3,000 for each render. And this isn't complete. These are the old ones. The new ones are far better looking and realistic looking than they are. Now, there are cheap renders, and I'll show you a cheap render. This is a cheap render for a project that we picked up. So the renders, actually, we inherited these renders. We didn't get them done. So you can do that. This is a cheap render. You can find a lot of people on Elance or LinkedIn or wherever, and there are people from China who can do it for really peanuts. But you really have to, and I've done that, and but it depends upon kind of job you're doing. So I didn't get these renders done; somebody else got them done. This is also a render. This is for my job in Brisbane. So, but I had to check it so many times, go back to them, check it again, go back to them. Okay, this doesn't match up. This doesn't match up. So all these things matter, and I would not go and get this done cheaply and get it done from overseas. I would say you spend $1,000, and it is just better to have them done nicely. So you don't have to go top of the line. For us, this was top of the line because each of these apartments are about 900,000. If you look at these, this is not top of the line. This is like $1,000 for each 3D impression or artist impression or render. We call them render. So in the construction industry, everybody calls them renders. So that's what it is. Will you be making the budget tracking template available? It is actually all my mentoring students get that, because mentoring students, I told you it's not joke being a mentoring student. I give you everything, the holy grail and everything. But for what you've got here is a lot of information, and I don't see any other courses offering you anywhere near to what I've offered. So the budget tracking template is available, but it goes to all my mentoring students. Liaise with the builder. So all these things like who's going to liaise with the builder, package tender documentation, and all. Contribution of capital. Now you might say, look, I'm going to do all the work. You want to put and there could be genuinely people who are busy, haven't got the time, have got full 9-to-5 jobs, but they're good high-paying jobs. But if you're friends with them and they trust you, your deal won't happen until they trust you, and not only trust you, but also trust your ability to be able to do that. And that's the reason I'm so big on education, because everything that I am today, I attribute it to the education that I've got myself in this industry. And all the hard works, you can't get around it, but you gotta get that education. And I spent over almost $90,000 to $100,000 on education, and I still continue to do it. I've just paid another $3,000 US for another course that I'm doing, and it's constant learning. It's so that I learn. I'm part of a construction company. I don't know anything about construction. When I say I don't know anything about it, I know a lot more than I knew when I started. But I'm not a builder. When I say I don't know anything about it, I mean to say that I'm not a builder. So there could be stuff going on construction side about putting the lentils in or putting the footings, or I wouldn't know how to do that. So I don't know all of that. But I track all the costs, so I know what costs what. I make sure that the budget tracks online. I know everything else but the actual building of it. And the only reason I'm running with a builder is because the builder that I work with is very good at what he does, but he lacks the information that I've learned through all of this and handling all the legal, marketing, finance, numbers, tracking, everything. And I've seen this industry very closely now. We all hate builders, and with the reason we do that because there are a lot of shonky ones there. And but it is so competitive that if the builder gives you the correct price, they will never win a job. So they've got to give you like a cost price, and then hope that they will get you in variations. So that's the only way they can get a job. And the number one skill that you must have is cash flow management. And if you want to be successful in this industry, if you cannot manage cash flow, it's gonna be very difficult to go on. In fact, I was thinking about all these techniques that I've learned for managing and controlling cash flow, that I might do a video on managing cash flow. But it's all about controlling which invoices become due when do you need that money, what the GST can come back, and all these things, so that you can juggle and keep all the balls in the air while you manage and land the land the airplane, so to speak. So be very careful. In my company, I have a cash flow meeting every Friday, and although we don't go into every little detail, but we do ballpark numbers on a whiteboard, making sure that we've got that coming, all the due invoices, they're accounted for. We know at any given time for any project, in about 10 minutes, I can tell you what is the cost to complete each project, what is my cash flow look like for the next 7 weeks or 6 weeks or so on, and I'll be within 5% of my numbers. And the thing is, the reason I say that it takes me a little while, because the bookkeeper doesn't come in every day to put in. If we've got 2 invoices, the bookkeeper won't come in and start putting in start feeding in the invoices. So we file BAS every month, and as a developer you will have to file BAS every month, because sometimes when you get construction finance, a lot of lenders do not lend you the GST money. So if your contract is, let's say, $1.1 million including GST to build something, they might come back and say, okay, we'll give you construction finance, so here's $1 million, we don't fund GST. And some lenders will create a separate account and give you like an overdraft account for your GST, and then they will pay GST from that account, which will be a little bit higher interest. And then you'll have to say, okay, let me quickly claim this back from the taxation department so that I can put it back in my overdraft account so that it costs me less. So you have to be very quick and very fast with doing that. So there's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of bookkeeping required. But at any given time, if you take your eye off your budget, you will not know where things are going, where the money will start leaking. So the number one skill that you need is cash flow management. So if you've got that cash flow management, you can go into any construction company. 9 out of 10 builders wouldn't know anything about cash flow. It's like talking to them about something very scientific. They don't have that capacity to do it, and most of them rely on ballpark numbers or estimators to do the job. And when it comes and the reason they do that is because, I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit off track of the topic that we're supposed to discuss, but I think you should know that. And the reason They do that is because to be able for any builder to give you the exact price of everything, it'll take him 2 months to do it, and they will have to do takeoffs for every trade. They will have to do the letting to every trade, and they'll get a letting register back that they will have to fill in. It costs every builder about $2,000 to about $3,000 to quote one job. And if you tender jobs to win business, you will notice that you win about, if you're a really good builder, you win about 45% of them, you lose 45% of them. So you just lost, if it was costing you $2,000 to tender a job, you lost $110,000 in tendering, but you won jobs, so you got to account for all these costs. So, and for that reason, the construction company that we've got, we do not tender jobs at all. So we only build for our own, only build our own projects, that the projects that we are developing ourselves. And for us, doing that is pure cash flow. We make sure that we're getting cash flow all year round. And you can do that because all my developments are now finishing, and I would have replaced my income by February next year, and after that I don't have to worry about any cash flow. So all these things matter. So let's go back to looking after finance. So you got to have a finance manager, and if you are good in finance, you should raise your hand and do that. I always do, because somehow I don't trust anybody else to look after the finance for my project. It's not that they will cheat on me, it's just that because I'm very pedantic with all these things, and I want to make sure that, you know, if I want to know what's costing me, whoever this, like for example, at the moment, my project manager and my builder, they come to me and say, "Oh, Amber, do you know how much have we paid the painter so far?" Okay, and I know it in a second that how much we paid to them. Whether or not the invoice has been paid, whether or not the invoice has been entered into the accounting system. So I know all these things as we go along. And as a developer, when you are doing these things, you should know always that, okay, in all initially when I did my first project, I didn't pay attention to the quotes that I got. And what I've learned, one thing is that you've got to pay attention to the quotes you get, because once you've got the quote in front of you, and then the bills start coming in, you know, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, more often than not, you'll notice that, you know, the invoices start getting inflated. Like, you know, you promised us 15K to do this job, and suddenly we've got this. I picked up on consultants like architects or engineer or so on, that even this rendering person that we use, this company that we use to do the renders, initially he came back with 5 shots, 15 grand or something, and he took 7.5 grand up front before he started the job. And when the job was done, he goes, "Oh, you owe me 10 grand." And I said, "No, wait a second, how do I owe you 10 grand? You know, we had a thing for 15 grand. So it's 5 grand there, 2 grand there, 4 grand there, and all these things start putting pressure on the profit that you're making. So you got to make sure that you read the quotes really carefully, make sure the scope of works in them is exactly what you want. You don't have to be as pedantic as I am, because I do construction, so I've got a lot more things to worry about. But if you are, even if your own consultants, everything, I've got a very clear system that I follow, and it's all done online, and I share it with my mentoring students, where the quotes coming and they start putting those quotes in, and they can track it against what their the actual budget that they had. They can track it against the progress claims that they make, and so on. So all these things matter. They take a lot of time. You've got to put in that time to be able to do all that. So between the person you're going to do a JV with, just make sure you set out who is the person who's going to control that. If you don't have any experience in this, but you want to get better at it, I'd say still raise your hand. And it's like, you know, you take a bite, you bite more than what you can chew, but then you chew like hell to make sure that you do it properly. So, and I didn't go and take a course in cash flow management, but I don't know, somehow from very beginning I was really good at that. So yeah, whoever becomes a finance manager will have to report weekly expenditure versus budget and variations and projected changes to the project costs and so on. They've got to be responsible for the day-to-day management of financial affairs of the joint venture. You've got to report on ventures, on changes in time and cost from the business plan. When I say business plan, we're basically talking about the financial feasibility. And I haven't looked into it, but 6 months down the track, I do plan on expanding that financial feasibility application where I put together a system where all these invoices come in and they constantly get compared to the budget timeline and so on. So you got to prepare and present monthly profit and loss accounts. I don't prepare that monthly profit and loss account because this is done in the MYOB software, and the bookkeeper sends me a report at the end of every month after he's put in all the expenses for the month. So check all invoices for correctness and against cost. That's the thing that I was telling you earlier. Ensure that payments are only made for goods actually delivered, services satisfactorily completed. So, and take advantage of the payment timelines that you get from your consultants. So if the consultant says 30 days, take advantage of it. The reason is it's costing you money. So if you even if you have your own money, park it somewhere where it actually earn some interest, or an online saver or something. Not in a different bank where you have to transfer every time you got to do that, but in the same bank, get an online saver. Every bit counts. Every bit counts. And no matter if I'll still be the same even if I replace my income and I've done everything, but every bit counts, and you need to make sure that you're doing everything you can to save every dollar. But at the same time, don't become a tight ass. Make sure that your consultants and the professionals you hire are paid on time. I'm not saying drag them, but I'm saying make sure that they're paid on time, because they will flag you very soon. And inevitably, in every development, there are situations where that you won't know could happen, and that your professional or consultant can help you solve in 5 minutes. So make sure that you're on the good side, but at the same time, take advantage of the credit that you get from them. This is all about cash flow management. You got to talk about dispute resolution. If two people get into if two people get into a JV together and they're doing something, and halfway through the development, one of them runs out of money, the other one's got money and they want to keep going, the other one doesn't want to keep going. So what do you do then? So make sure you lay out all these rules before you actually get into a joint venture agreement. The reason I say that is because it's happened to me, and I had to swallow this. I really had to swallow this, and I could have saved about 30K on my side, but I looked at the bigger picture and I let it slide. And I'll tell you what happened. In my JV that I was doing, my project in Brisbane was a JV, and what happened was, my partner, the bank, which wasn't expected, but the bank said, guys, you got to put in extra 250,000 as equity because it's a major considerable deal, and we'll let you start construction without getting 50% pre-sales. So we already had 2 pre-sales. They said usually we would wait for 50% pre-sales, but in your scenario, it's a straightforward deal. It's a good area. Everything is good. You can start construction, but you both got to chip in $250,000 each. And I knew that this was going to happen, and I was prepared. My cash flow was all organized. It was ready, and if I wanted to access it, I could access it. And my partner said, "No, I don't. He hasn't got any money." And I'm gasping. I'm going. It was costing us 10 grand a month in interest. for the land settlement, and I'm going around calling my friends, calling all my resources to make sure that I find that money for this guy. And then I'm talking to him about, can you borrow this money on this interest, and he goes, no, I haven't got any property to give as security, and all this disputes going on, and I'm stressing, I'm jumping up and down. It's 3 months go by. We could have started, because I would have been finished with this project 3 months ago, but the project got delayed by 3 months, and 3 months it cost us 30K on that, and all the other stuff that there was some more stuff to do with this, but we could have saved that 30 grand very easily if my partner was ready in time with the equity injection that was required to go ahead. Now, I didn't want to give up my share, and there was somebody else who said, look, what happens is when you're doing a development and you hit a snag like this, the only people who will borrow you money in the middle of a deal, which is basically like a mezzanine finance, are going to be sharks. And usually 9 out of 10 of these sharks know how development works. So if they see that the deal's got a good margin, they will either push the interest rate that they want, or they will say, look, I'll give you the money, but I want X percentage of your equity. And my partner was neither ready to give away his equity, nor was he ready to pick up money on higher interest rate. So 3 months go by like this, and I'm knocking on every door I can, and he's sitting there calm and collected, and but I didn't want to fight. I have this rule that if I'm in battle with somebody, it doesn't matter. If we are in the same team, we hold hands and we cross the finish line. So I didn't fight with him, and because I knew that fighting with him wouldn't, it will just become a shit fight. What do I do? Take him to court, spend more money with the lawyer, and the deal's halfway through. We've got construction loan approved. Everything is ready to go. We just need the 250. So what I did was I called up the builder who we had done the contract with to build, and I told him, look, can you help us? This is what's happened. My partner's run out of his share of the money. I have my money ready. And if you lend us that money, we'll give you a second mortgage over the property that you are going to build. And if you come good, you can have second mortgage over that. And I told my partner that, look, he's going to have a second mortgage, but you and I have to have an agreement between the two of us that his interest and everything comes out of your share, not my share, and so on, and all those things. But when the builder came back, he came back with 25% interest rate, and my partner said nah. So he didn't go ahead with it, and then eventually he said, look, I've got a share portfolio which is over 300 grand or something. So he liquidated all that share portfolio to get his 250. So he had the money, but for 3 months he tried to make sure that he could save that portfolio and do this deal somehow. And when the last resort came in, I was just about to lose my calm and cool, and then he came up with the goods and we started construction. So that's what happened in the joint venture agreement. But this is what I learned from it, that it's very important to lay down these rules and these dispute things up front. Now this could have happened to me as well, and that's how I looked at it. And I said, look, this could have happened to me if I didn't have that money for some reason, whatever, and this guy would have taken me to court. So I played cool for 3 months, although on the inside I was panicking like crazy. So but I kept doing it, and we found a solution. And I kept telling him that, look, Gary, I'm not gonna leave you here. We will finish this development together. I was positive all along, and I just kept saying, no matter what happens, Amber, you've got to finish this development. I'm going to finish this development. So we found a way and we finished it. So that's what I did. Now, sale of joint venture interest to third party, you've got to remember that, if a venture or a seller wishes to accept an offer from an outside party or third party to buy the whole of his interest in the joint venture, then it must immediately notify others. So this is basically your partner says, oh, sorry, mate, I don't want to be part of this development anymore. I found somebody else. I'm going to sell my share to them. Good luck to them. If they want, they can. But remember this, if you are in a trust or if you are in a company or whatever, and the value of your asset is over $1 million and they transfer 50% shares of it, those shares will attract stamp duty. So so you got to lay these rules down up front, telling them that, look, okay, if any party wants to sell their shares midway, first off, it's their responsibility to find a buyer for it. Second off, all legal costs associated with should be borne by them. And if they can't find the money or whatever, you should be able to sell their share to somebody else or have an option to buy those shares at cost. If they run out of money or they say, I'm not gonna do this, and they throw in the towel halfway through the development, you should have. I always do that now. I learned my lesson from this. I now have a right, if I'm doing a development with somebody and halfway through they say for any reason they want to get out, and I say the first option, I have the first right of refusal where I say I'll buy your shares at cost and you can get out of the deal. I have no issues with that. And if I am not in a position to buy this, I'll find somebody of my friend who wants to buy them, but I'm not obliged to. Basically, remember that. So never take this upon you that it is your responsibility because your partner's just thrown in the towel. So make sure that you lay down all these rules before you get into the development. So if the continuing venture do not wish to acquire the seller's interest, then they may either accept the sale to third party or conditionally upon the third party signing an identical joint venture agreement. Look, this is all legal stuff, and some of the seminars that I went to, you can't hear me. Okay, that's all right. Sorry about that. I will have a section. I'm getting the section done for the webinars as well. So, but in any case, you will get a link for this webinar later on. So I think everybody can hear me now. So basically, yeah, what I was gonna say was that a lot of seminars that I went to had they used to give out their sample agreements, sample development agreements, sample project management agreements, sample. They are really worthless, like literally worthless. I have never used, I've got quite a lot of them from all the courses that I've done, and I've never used any one of them. And the reason I don't use them, because if I go in and I start tweaking them, and there are so many things, so many different words that mean so many different things, and there was a dispute later on, that agreement would not be worth anything at all. It won't hold in the court. So there's no point trying to cut corners here. It is always good to get to a lawyer, tell them, explain them, this is what you want, this is what you want, this is what you want, and let them draft it for you. I know it costs money, and lawyers cost money. We pay our lawyer about $450 an hour, but she's very good. She's a property lawyer, and it's like, we are scared of her. It's like literally I'm scared of her, and but it's good to know that she's got my back. So basically that, but she doesn't come cheap. It's a good lawyers don't come cheap. So that's the kind of expense that you got to allow for. So these are the things that go in a joint venture agreement, and the joint venture agreement is very similar. I mean, they're two different kind of legal documents, but they are very similar to a unit holders agreement. And unit holders agreement come into place when you've got a unit trust. So all the unit holders, maybe there are 5 unit holders in it, they all agree to certain terms. One of them wants to sell their units, somebody else comes in, they buy it, and all these things that who's going to do what, and all these things get listed in that agreement, and everybody signs on it. So once everybody signed on it, then you should go and get a development agreement started. Now, don't take this lightly. I went to all these courses, and all the courses told me get a joint venture agreement. But when I got into this development, I didn't get the joint venture agreement at all. I didn't get it. Yeah, Gary, it's all good, and we're mates, and everything is good, and everything is fine. And the time that I really wanted the agreement was the time when the 3 months came in and he didn't have the money. So after the 3 months went by, I went and got this agreement done, and I told him that, look, we needed this agreement to show to the taxation, to give it to our accountant as well, so that the accountant knows what the shareholding was, and they can do the tax returns for both of us and so on. So I told him, look, I need this agreement, and I need this agreement for taxation. And it was partly true, but I also needed to make sure that my backside's covered, because I didn't have this agreement in the first place. And so you learn. But luckily I've got no beef with anybody, and the development's fine. It's almost finished. So all these things are great. So these are some joint venture agreements, agreement terms that you can basically you must be careful of when you are getting into a joint venture agreement. So these two sections are basically a repeat of all the sections that we already have in the course under the no money down module. So if you look at the number 6, JV with landowner, money partner, builder, strategies for creating sweat equity, this is what you guys would be doing. Everything that I've done is sweat equity. Sweat equity is the fruit of my labor. So for my share in the project, I work hard, but I can't put any money in. So that's what I do, and that's the best and the easiest way I know of putting no money down deals together. Those days where the landlord didn't know what his land was worth, and the developer came in and used the landlord's land for equity and did this, they're over. I don't think there's any landowner in the world, not in the world, but at least in Australia, who doesn't know what his land is worth now. So don't. Somehow I felt when I used to look at these strategies, so-called no money down deal strategies, I used to say, gosh, the other guy must be really stupid. And the reality is that they are not anymore. Maybe 6 years ago, 10 years ago, they were stupid, but they are not anymore. Or they usually get something which is a very inflated value of their land or something. So the only way they will do a deal with you if their land is worth $1 million and you offering them 2 million or 3 million or something. So it's worth their while to say, okay, I'll wait. But then if you offer them $2 million more than what their land is worth, or 3 times more than what their land is worth, you're being stupid as well, because it'll be very hard to make anything from that deal. So but if you can become that person who knows how to put all this together and knows how to have all these parts work together, I think that you can put these deals together every day. I put these deals together every day. We now charge a fees for it. So not only that, I mean, we have a partner who brings in money. It comes in at a cost, but for me, it's a no money down deal. We give them the interest, we use their money, and it's fine. So it could also be that in your scenario where you are trying to put a deal together, where somebody actually puts in, so let's say you've got no money and you want to do a deal with somebody who's got money. To sweeten the deal for them, you can say, look, let's go 50-50. I'll do everything. You have to do nothing. But to sweeten the deal for you, let's say you're putting in $1 million into the project. I'm not putting anything, but I'm going to make everything happen, which is going to be, I'll get the construction finance, I'll do all the work, I'll manage the project, and the project, would be worth $2 million. or whatever at the end of it. So the $1 million that you are actually putting in, I'll give you 5% interest on it, and we'll account that interest and make it the cost of the project. So the other guy who's putting in saying, okay, I didn't put any, he's not putting any money in, but he's going to do all the work. I put all the money in, and I become a 50% partner. But the cost of my money that I actually put into the project, let's say, 5% on $1 million, whatever that cost is, I get that back along with my principal, so that it's so that they don't feel cheated. You know what I mean? So you got to sweeten the deal for them, and it's fair. It's there is a cost of money, no matter where it's coming from. There is a cost for money which should become part of the actual cost of the project. So make sure that you sweeten the deal for them as well. Even if the first deal you say, okay, I'll only charge 20, I'll keep 20% of the equity in this, and but I won't put any money in, and you can put 100% of the money, but you get 80% of the project or something. At least you're getting 20% for doing nothing. But in that scenario, and if the 20% of the equity is not that much, I would say you rather get like a development management fee so that your cash flow keeps going, and let them have the profit. That way you're gaining experience on someone else's project, but you're working just as hard and you're getting money for it. You don't get any equity in the project, but you are working hard and you are getting experience, and you are managing the project, and you are making sure that everything goes right, but you are also getting a monthly cash flow from it. And you put this, when you do a feasibility, put it as part of the feasibility and say, look, this is what is required. I need to draw at least $5,000 a month, and that's $60,000 my fee for 12 months, which won't come out upfront. So make it part of the cash flow, so that all the money that comes in, it comes in plus 60 grand or something. And then you can invoice them every month, keep drawing the $5,000 every month, so that you've got cash flow going and you've got a deal going. So don't try and get reception today is quite bad, keeps cutting in and out, not hearing everything you were saying. Ooh, okay. Okay, look, I apologize for the reception. I don't know what's wrong. I'm not doing anything else. But we are towards the end of the webinar. If you've got any questions, you can ask me questions now. Okay, some people are getting reception which is bad. Some people are saying all perfectly clear here. But anyways, you will get a recording of this webinar, so you guys can watch it again. I know it's a pain to watch a 1 hour webinar again, but you can fast forward it and watch it in any portion that you like. But if you've got any questions, do send them to me. We've got 6 minutes left till about 8 o'clock, and any questions you want to ask. The questions don't have to be with respect to the JV agreement. Any question, any doubts you've got in your mind you want to clear, just type it in the box and I'll answer them, and I'll address all these questions. Okay, before I go, I wanted to show you something. I wanted to show you the PDS application version 3.0, the Smart Feasibility Calculator. And the reason I want to show that to you is because there's a lot of stuff that's happening. So this is number 3. That's almost ready. I'm testing it with all my feasibilities that I do, but this is for some major projects that you can put into account. Now, when will the next webinar be? The next webinar would actually be sometime in January. I think when you register for this, you should have got like a schedule for it, but you'll get a reminder. Just give me 1 second. I don't remember it myself. I don't remember the exact date though, but I am just looking at my schedule and I'll tell you. The next webinar is on 20th of January. So I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. And what are your plans for New Year? I'm gonna sit with my kids and do the goals exercise again, review the goals that I've got. I do the exact same goals exercise, by the way, and I've done it 3 times already for 3 years in a row, and I've crossed a few things off it. My son, we put together some vision boards. I think I showed you in the first webinar. I'm gonna revise my vision board. My son was saying that he put on his vision board in his room, he wanted his batting average to be 50 runs or something in cricket. So he's 14 years old, and the other day he was sitting on it, and his batting average, by the way, is 111 this season so far. So he said to me, Papa, this came true because and he looked at it, and there it was like a little cutout from a magazine that he had put on his vision board, which is right across from his bed. And he was sitting on his bed looking at his vision board, and he said, my batting average at the moment is 111 runs, and it is 111 runs because he's been not out for 4 or 5 matches in a row. Like he goes in like 6 down or 7 down or something, and then he's got 7 or 8 overs and they don't get him out, and he hits really hard, and so that's why. So yeah. Pack your goals away with your Christmas tree in Jan, then take them out again when you put the tree up next year. Amazing what happens. I tend to review my goals monthly because every time I've done this exercise, I've become better at doing them and organizing them and listing them and breaking them down into smaller steps that I can take every week, every month. So I don't do it every weekly at the moment, but I do them every monthly. And this year I'm planning to do this for our company as well, like the construction company and the development company, the targets we want to hit, the projects we want to do, and where we want to move. So I've actually enrolled or convinced my 2 other partners to say that we're going to do this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I wish everybody a very happy holiday season, and be safe. Don't drink and drive. Have fun, enjoy with your family. And if you got any queries, I am always working. I enjoy having I do take some time off, but somehow if I'm not working, somehow I feel that I've got to be there, and I'm still not there. And how can you be just sitting and doing nothing? So I get up and start working. So I wish you all the very best, and Merry Christmas to you too, Ruth. And I strongly recommend that you do the goals exercise. And if you haven't done that now, get your goal getting action plan. It's not just goal setting, it's goal getting. So make sure you go and get all your goals. So it's 20 minutes, but it'll take you at least an hour if you're doing it properly, because you'll pause it, you'll write something down, and then you'll go ahead and do it. So wish you all the very best. If you got any queries, shoot me an email anytime. If you haven't installed the application as yet, shoot me an email with your computer code. Make sure you watch this video, the installation video, before you send me the queries about not being able to install it, because it has everything already in there. So just follow this video, and you should be able to install this. Wish you all the best, guys. I'll see you next year in 2016.